All right, it being 6 o'clock, we will go ahead and call this meeting of the RMLD Board of Commissioners to order. I think we have Vivek participating remotely. He's not on. He's not on yet? Okay.
He does plan on attending and sharing.
Okay, would somebody like to call the meeting to order in his?
I will call the meeting of the Citizens Advisory Board to.
Thank you. Okay, RMLD Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of hearing public comment at the discretion of the chair on items on the official agenda. Do we have any members of the public? No. Okay. And when Vivek joins, we will ask him to announce himself. He'll be joining hopefully soon. Okay, so since we have no public comment, liaisons to the board, any updates from?
I had no new updates. I think that only two things that are active that I've connected with are just the school and the recal, and I don't have anything new there.
Okay. We're going to do a policy committee update, Dave.
Yep. So we had our first meeting, Bob and Ray, myself and Vivek, and just kind of talked about things in a general way. And we made a basic plan to take a Word doc of the policies, get input from the members, go through Jason first to get Jason's input because Jason has good ideas, and go from there. So no, nothing more specific than just we met.
Okay. Do you have a timeline or plan on when you would
meet monthly?
Okay.
I think we'll meet monthly, and I think we want to make sure we don't add to Jason's workload. So as he has time, I would say 3 to 4 meetings. We'll probably come back with some ideas, and the ideas to tighten things, streamline. Maybe there's some things missing, but make it be productive and not a time savings. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to item 4, procurement requests for approval.
Good evening. How you guys doing?
Yeah.
All right. Good. We got there's 4 different bids that we're looking for approval on. The first one is IFP 2025-21. It's for a 65-foot digger derrick truck with a trade-in. We're replacing a 2001 truck, truck number 17. We're looking for the approval of $785,000 and $900 to replace the truck. And that's the first one.
So we vote on them separately, or?
I was going to do them separately. They're all different motions, right? So I can do them one at a time, or I can do it however you like.
It's basically the only game in town, right? James Hiley. I mean,
Kind of.
Yeah.
As you see, we only had one bidder.
Anybody want to read the motion? Thanks, Ray.
Move that the proposal IFP 2025-21 for one 65-foot digger derrick truck with trade-in to be awarded to James A. Kiley Company for $785,900 and no cents pursuant to Master General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 56D on the recommendation of the General Manager.
Yep. Thanks, Bob. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 0.
Thank you. All right, the next one is IFP 2025-29. It's to replace a 50-foot digger derrick truck with trade-in. It's a smaller truck. The 65-footer is a tandem axle in the back. That's a heavy lift, long reach truck. This is one of our standard digger derrick trucks. It's going to replace a 2008 truck number 25. And we'd like to award it to Kylie for $513,746.
Is the replacement what's being traded in?
Yes. Yep. Truck 25 will be traded in.
Move that proposal IFP 2025-29 for one 50-foot digger derrick truck with trade-in to be awarded to James A. Kiley Company for $513,746 and no cents pursuant to Master General Law, Chapter 164, Section 5060 on the recommendation of the general manager.
Second. Thanks, Bob. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Great, thank you. The next bid is for grounds and landscape services, IFB 2026-01. It's a 3-year contract, and we are looking to award this to Pathfinder Tree Service LLC for $179,061. You can see it's a 3-year bid, and on the spreadsheet, there's a breakdown of per year price. There was 2 bidders, and it's going to our current bidder, Pathfinder Tree Service, as the lowest qualified bidder.
They're the incumbent?
Yes.
Okay. Where are they located at?
I'm not exactly sure. Chris would have known, but I didn't ask him for that information.
This is for 3 years.
3 years, yep.
And what is it? What's the scope other than this property?
Substations, station 3, station 4, they take care of the weeds, the bushes, the right away at station 4, the old pole yard, the existing pole yard at station 3, a little bit of work around station 5 in these grounds. So anyway, we have property.
Peter, geez.
What's that? Walpole, they said a Walpole.
Well, thank you.
That just came to me.
Voice from above.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Uh,
Oh, did we read?
Read the motion.
Sorry.
Move that IFB 2026-01, first one of the year, for grounds and landscape services to be awarded to Pathfinder Tree Service LLC for $179,061.00 pursuant to Mass General Law 30B as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder on the recommendation of the general manager.
Second.
Second.
Thanks, Dave. All those in favor? 5-0.
All right, thank you. Bid number 4, excuse me, RFQ 2026-14 with the Greater Boston Police Council. This is for the purchase of 2 sport utility vehicles off their state bidders list. The net delivered price will be $82,440 for 2 of these SUVs. We're looking for board approval for that.
Is one of these going to be your general manager vehicle?
Yes. The souped up one.
Are these brand new cars?
That's the one with the flames on the behind the rear wheels.
22 rims, yeah.
Are these brand new cars or used cars?
Yes, new, brand new.
But they're 2025s. I think, right? Somewhere.
Not used.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Model year.
Presumably you get a good price on a previous model year.
There's probably another place to bring this up, but one thing that I think would be interesting on these sort of, if this is a light duty vehicle, just to maybe think about it on the policy side, but just would be like an EV first kind of something that sort of, we had a policy where we would at least look for the EV market, with light duty vehicles.
So, quick comment on EV vehicles, knowing in where I work and them having been trialed, they have their limitations in a utility-based environment. When you need them in bad weather, they work okay during an 8 to 5 blue sky day, but when you need them more on a bad weather environment or tougher weather environments, they're not that great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
straight up, I hate to say that, but
And it's difficult for an electric power company that in a giant outage situation, not to have a vehicle to go out because it's an electric vehicle that
Sure.
you can't charge.
Sure.
Because they've tried them.
Consider
with
a
bucket
hybrid.
trucks.
Yeah,
instead
I mean,
or something.
I understand all those things. And so that would be part of the evaluation, depending on which vehicle it is, and maybe there's not that many LDVs that you're purchasing or that are part of the fleet, and maybe they all have to be sort of ready all the time, whatever. But Yeah, just a suggestion that since we're talking about vehicles.
What the other one for? Just curious.
Full vehicle.
In the budget, it was slated to replace two,
Got
so we are replacing two. Okay. So they're existing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
further discussion?
move that RFQ 2026-14, the Greater Boston Police Council, two sport utility vehicles to be awarded to Liberty Chevrolet for the net delivered price of $82,440 pursuant to the town of Reading's membership with the Greater Boston Police Council on the recommendation of the general manager.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for picking the car, Jason. This is the first time the general manager has actually had a RMLD vehicle in a good long time. So it's good to know that you have your own vehicle.
Also, I know you've been there for a bit, but just wanted to note that Vivek joined us as well. Thanks, Vivek.
Thank
Yeah, hi guys, sorry. Good.
For joining. Glad to have you here. Okay, we're gonna move on to the certificate retirement update. Thank you.
I guess this is to continue last month discussion, so we added some information, the request of the chair. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So the first two slides were already presented actually the first one was already presented last time, so I'm not gonna repeat that. The second one was just because we're gonna do a comparison of what was the estimated additional cost of retiring, instead of retiring 33%, we were gonna retire 55%. And the estimate at the beginning of 2024 was 69 cents on the average monthly bill. And then we did the new estimate of the actual bill increase in 2020, now that we have all the data for that year. So the additional cost was $1. So if you look at the percentage, it's a high percentage, 45% increase from that estimate, even though the absolute dollar value is not a whole lot. And then we kind of applied that same percentage increase to look at 2026 certificate retirement, the additional cost. So the last row in this table is new information from last time. This is based on a 45% increase in that additional cost also. So for 60% retirement, we're gonna have an increase of about 10 cents per month in terms of the bill impact.
Do you mean, you said 10 cents, but the range is 20 to 30 cents per month?
Yeah, so the 30 cents is if the actual additional cost is also 45% increase.
If your estimate is off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one was also requested just to see the distribution of our customers, our 26,000 residential customers, based on their usage, where would that bill impact be landing? So I would say a majority would be under $1 per month, that additional cost.
And there's, looking at that, there's probably 20, the maximum we're seeing for some people like $4 to $5 per month. And as it goes down, it looks like 20% of the people that it's hard to tell. It doesn't give you the percentage, but obviously the great vast majority is, but probably say 20% of the customers will see an impact greater than $1.
So the y-axis is the number of customers. So for $5, that's like 100, maybe.
Maybe not,
Probably
or not even.
10.
no.
Yeah,
Maybe
Okay.
10.
yeah, maybe like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like probably 90% of the customers are $2 or less impact.
And the tail, is this, would you characterize those customers that exist in the tail? Are those higher paying customers already that
Yes,
they're
they use
large
way
load?
more. They use thousands of kilowatt
Yeah,
hours
yeah.
each month.
Would those be multi-family residences? No, those
These
are all
are
single.
residential accounts.
All
Yes.
single.
So those are like the McMansions with the pools and 3 compressors and like.
No,
Like,
Or
the guy with
commercial.
the guy with 3 mini splits.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, or it could be you, Pam, right?
Exactly.
Please,
Maybe.
let's not start.
I got my bill today. I'm definitely on the tail somewhere.
The trick is to turn those off. I found you really save a lot of electricity that way.
If you turn those off.
Mine hasn't been off for 2 months.
Yeah, it's
My ground source
been
heat pump.
cold.
It's been pretty
it's been cold.
hot.
So, kind of getting back to the driver of what, what we're trying to do. 2030, we're supposed to be at 50%.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, for that, I'm going to say for the sake of feeling good, we can exceed 50%. Maybe that's not the right terminology, but we can exceed that. What's the benefit of us of exceeding the goal? It's 2026, and other than, our power supply composition is allowing us to get here. But why should we be charging customers? My big thing is, why should we be charging customers more money just because we want to get to a higher percentage? Now, that's my driver here. I wouldn't care if it was a nickel. It matters to some people, right? $5, and it might be this year, but hey, look, I saw a huge jump in my bill because it, pass-through costs. Those are going to hit you. So every time we increase the bill, it's not just, distribution, costs on our side. There's transmission costs as well that go through, and they have increased significantly. So I want to bring everyone's attention. Yes, we're doing this, but first off, we don't have to, right? We're already meeting our goals, and secondly, the benefits of it. What are they for people other than an increased bill, right? And we're 4 years away from, and we're already there. So, if we keep that, and we could sit on it, right? Absolutely. There's no need for us to move forward with increasing this percentage other than increasing people's bills, in my opinion, at this point. But
Well, okay. There's another view. I mean, is that there are societal benefits and environmental benefits to getting away from fossil fuels for many reasons. So
we're at 1% of renewable energy according to ISO New England. Right now, we're running more peaking plants than we ever have before because we're shutting off natural gas. Sometimes we really need to focus on.
that's a good question, actually. That's a good one.
It's,
We have a couple of experts in the room, but if what you're saying is true, that would be good to unpack someday. If this is really a mirage because peakers are going on and they produce 10 or 100
right.
X.
It's true. I mean,
But
peakers have been more active almost for a straight month.
Because then they're like 100x more emissions or
Correct.
something like that per unit of energy. And so that would be an interesting question to get answered more thoroughly. I see Megan and Bob's nodding sagely on this one.
Yeah, so the
So-
EPA, actually the DEP would adjust the emissions rate each year.
Yep.
For all utilities in Massachusetts in order to do the inventory. I would suspect that will be reflected for this year's emissions rate, which is going to happen in 2 years because there's a 2-year lag before they finally can determine what is the emissions rate.
So
In arrears, what the actual
In arrears,
emission
yes,
was,
yeah.
including peakers,
yes, everything.
everything.
so then that means this 55% it's false and misleading. Not false, but it's misleading, not for any
It's a different metric. That's how.
not for anybody in this room, but just we need the state to tell us if the peakers are now making it be more than that net.
Well,
We need somebody to unpack that for us so we know what we're doing here.
well, it's not, I mean, it's not a mirage in the sense that if you say, well, let's go to 45%, at 55, you're still purchasing more renewable energy than
Right.
you would have for the same year, given whatever fuels we burned, than if we did 45%.
Yep.
So there is, you're still getting the carbon benefit, if that matters to you. You're still getting the carbon benefit of moving up the scale of percentages, no matter what the peakers are doing. It's being offset certainly by natural gas peaker plants, but the offset would, we'd be
if you don't mind my asking,
the carbon, the absolute quantity of carbon that we are producing per year of electricity production.
Vivek has his hand.
Yeah. So, Bob, you make a really good point. I think, it's this discussion is good because we really have to say, the state has a mandate, we're exceeding it. But the question is, what do our customers care about? So as part of a customer survey, whatever that's going to be done, that's one piece of information. So it's more than just the board deciding what is important for the community. I mean, the board clearly provides guidance, but if there is a pull from the community, that should also be factored in. And if that can be explored as part of the survey, that would be useful because that's a good calibration. The other point is that one really needs to think about what is our power supply going to be in the out years, right? Because it's the future contracts for renewable power that determine the number of credits you can earn. So I think somehow we should be, and I think, that's a point I think that Megan had made. And, that's when we look at this chart, it shows that when you get to higher numbers, you're having to deal with more expensive credits, right? So we need to be thinking about what customers want, and also we need to be thinking about what our power supply contracts are going to be, because that determines the shape of future years. So I'm not saying that's important for today's goals for this year, but it's something that we need to think about. And it's something that maybe it goes into the GM goal discussion, but I just want to mention that. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivek.
I think this is a relatively low cost way to make a local impact. I think that's how we have to view it, that we're retiring renewable energy certificates within our service territory to try to make an impact on the amount of emissions that are out there. I think, like Vivek said, if we got into the next tier and we're starting to hit bigger numbers, or there's less low-cost RECs around for whatever reason in the future years, I think we'd have to relook at this, right? That's kind of like, yeah. So to me, this is a relatively low-cost way to make a good local impact, and just take it at face value and not really look at the big picture, because the picture's changing rapidly. And this was an extreme winter where a lot of extreme things happened. And that's why it wasn't just gas-fired peakers, it was really the oil-fired peakers that were making a big negative emissions impact. But they were needed because the lights were going to go out without them.
I had a couple of questions. The first one is just for clarity. The motion here is the retirement rate of 55%, which we are currently at 55%. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you're suggesting a motion to stay the course at 55%, or that's what this?
With a
That,
motion
that was the placeholder
that could
for
be changed.
then for
Okay.
discussion by the board.
Okay, so we could possibly go up to 60%, for example. Second question is, have we ever explored any, like, I think the virtual power plant, or I mean, virtual power purchase agreements that are pretty far away? Are those reflected here in this graph on page 3?
So virtual power plant, VPP, there are different definitions depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, what I'm
Most
thinking,
recently, the VPP is just a different name for demand response, which is different from the
Yeah.
power supply.
yeah, what I'm thinking about is, so Cambridge recently, it's like a community solar project, but it's in Illinois, and it's much, much bigger. So they're able to buy those RECs because of their subscription or something like that. I guess I
Yeah,
just
we
wondered what that
those with
landscape,
those PPAs.
and those are reflected here on this.
Yes, it's the same as the table. Like all these certificates we have
Those are all bundled into,
are associated with a PPA, which means all the certificates are associated with the kilowatt hour that we buy. So we have not bought any certificate just for the sake of buying certificates.
so do you know what the difference is then for those like out of region power plants, renewable energy plants that are big?
Speak to those two.
Yeah.
Those, I really don't like those because you're not making a local impact at all. And there's some risk involved with those because the way those virtual PPAs work is you're agreeing on a price for the output of the power. The price is above that, you could be paying more. If the prices goes higher, the thing could go out of business or whatever. It just, I think those could really fall apart really quickly, and you could be left holding like nothing or a big mess. I just don't like the
Are they all
design of
done?
those.
Are they all done in the development phase?
They're
Is
all
that,
done,
is
they're
it
done in the
more
lowest
speculative?
cost places to build,
Right.
solar or wind. It really in the middle of nowhere that is, you're not going to make much of an impact on really reducing emissions because they're locally,
Right.
so it's really,
It's
you
a
want to
market
tell,
signal more
if
than
you want
it
to
is
tell a story,
yeah.
that's really telling a story. That's not making an impact. All RMLD's power is within New England.
Local, yeah.
And
Or
the climate law, and the climate law that requires MLPs to retire this
Locally.
percentage.
Have to be a
It needs
percentage
to
local.
go, it needs to be associated with kilowatt hour purchase.
Yeah, I mean, these are, I think, right?
Or it's,
The
it's virtual, the power is not being
PPAs.
no, those
delivered
power is just
to
going
us.
into the grid in Wyoming,
Okay, I understand, yeah.
not getting here. at
Buying,
all.
but you're just buying the
You're
certificate.
just buying it.
Only the
It's just a way to come up with a low cost way to buy some credits that are not impacting New England whatsoever.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you'd be better off taking that money you invest in that and investing in more insulation locally, which might cut local emissions because people are going to use less heat.
And they'll save them money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. That's super helpful.
I did just want to point out, if you look on the table on slide 5, we put the word in quotes stable around the EFEC estimate because those are the certificates that we get from nuclear. So they're kind of somewhat stable as in the nuclear is providing the base load. So those certificates, those values, the amount that are generated every year shouldn't change drastically. Where the other types of certificate types are tied to more intermittent generation sources. So those can vary and depending on the type of year you have, they could either generate more than you expect or less than you expect.
Can you explain what those different, the CESE, ME2, what those are?
Those are similar to, can I just say, that those are similar to nuclear. That's similar to a nuclear power plant. It's 24/7.
So
Renewable
CESE
energy.
is also stable.
They're very stable.
What about the ME2?
those aren't so stable.
That's renewable.
Okay, so we're
Some
starting
of
to get
the-
into that range.
Yeah, some of the hydro is also CSE. So
But-
once you
but-
pass effect, it, you know, some of them may also be from the intermittent.
And what is the MA2 and MA1?
Yeah, all these are, MA1 is all renewable, solar, wind. MA2 is similar.
ME2 is solar, wind, or it's hydro?
ME2, I think some of the hydro is also ME2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you pass effect, it's likely some of it is hydro, which is seasonal
Mhm.
and intermittent in a way.
Mhm.
And just to go back to the last one too, these are all based on estimates. If our load goes up and the generation goes down, it may be harder and harder to hit 55 or 60%. So we just want to give you, context, and so it may seem like it's 20 cents to 30 cents on the average bill. But I did the last month, so I think it's still going to be the same, but there's roughly 11% that when you're at 60%, there's like 11% certificates right now that we're estimating to be over. So if generation underperforms and our load grows and the combination of those two add up to more than 11%, we could be into needing to purchase correct.
Well, I know we said last time, we want to make sure we're looking at the policy, and right now I understand when we say 55, that means you have to hit 55, even including buying RECs. I think we should consider whether there's come back to the board and have that conversation. If that is the situation, because I don't think that is necessarily the intent. We want to make decisions based on the best information that we have, but
I just wanted to give context of
Yeah.
how the margin for errors when you start to go to 60% is starting to narrow. And it's just about how much risk are we willing to accept and want to do, and
and
balancing with all the other priorities.
to Bob's point, how much impact are you hoping to try to make with low cost impact? That we're trying to balance the increasingly non-carbon element of the goal with the reliable and low cost part of the goal. I would just like to say to Megan and team, thank you for putting this information together, because it really does help us consider the options. I feel strongly about continuing to make progress towards, and doing better than the state mandated goal. And it's good to see we have options to do small pieces at a very limited impact. I'd love to see us continuing to try to strive to, like, every year or two, making a little bit more of an incremental impact and a low cost. And the way we do that is continue to kind of take baby steps forward. But at the same time, totally recognize it's been a really challenging, particularly this winter time. And we do have to be sensitive to folks, the costs people are facing in a variety of ways.
So you had put on the agenda the stay the course motion.
Actually, I actually didn't specifically say 55%. I think there was just the idea was there was a placeholder here for discussion. So the question is if anybody wants to consider a vote for 60% or a different number.
What would the average, what would that chart curve look like at 60? Did you already show it?
Well, that's essentially, yes, that's this page.
Oh, that would be to go to 55 to 60.
55 to 60. That would be the impact, and the average is somewhere between 20 and 30 cents.
I'll make that suggested amendment that we take this, given a little bit, and go to the 60.
Anybody?
I second that.
Yeah.
I second going to 60. I'm definitely in the tail, paying higher with a ground source heat pump. I'm certainly above average in my energy consumption, but to me it's worth a couple dollars to continue to make progress on the goal. And I think it's in keeping with the three-pronged approach of trying to be low carbon, but as long as it's not a big cost impact, and I realize a couple bucks is still a couple bucks, but given that we're energy, I don't know what it would take to heat my house with oil if I were to do that this winter, and electric ground source heat pump is still far more cost effective than oil if I were to do it. A couple bucks to push energy conservation is well within that goal and objective I've set for myself.
Just a cautionary, a note again, like Jason said, we should have a retraction policy ready to go in case things change. Things can, and anything can change, we know that can happen, so.
And we can always do that.
This is.
Yeah, I agree, and it's just,
Yeah, I
um,
agree with that caution.
but we
When
are
would this
ahead.
go- Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
No, good job.
When would this go into effect?
This immediately.
I'm sorry.
It would be our goal for this year, essentially, for 2026.
So, but when would people see the effect in their bill?
That would be next year. Technically, that would be next year.
Just because, I
Next
So
calendar.
Rex,
right?
Yeah,
Like,
because of the lag.
Yeah.
in
six
what
weeks.
Certificates are generated.
Yeah.
We'll do the transaction
Right.
next year, the first half
just-
of next year.
we are taking away potential capital from us. We have to sell more Rex, right? We can sit on them and make money from them. There's a couple things. I'm gonna say, but we are ahead. We're 4 years ahead. I appreciate everybody wanting to continue to steam forward, but I think we are forward. We're already there. I'd say stay the course. That would be my recommendation.
I'd like to ask Bob Castle, what's your recommendation?
I would agree with Bob. I think there could be other costs coming up. We're gonna see some big bills from this past few months. Capacity prices could be increasing very soon. So there could be more increases coming that we just don't know enough about yet. So I would like to, I think keeping it at 55 is reasonable at this point and not getting too far ahead of ourselves, because we could be pulling back come next year, in the year after that. And one big source of those CES recs is that Hydro-Quebec contract. I think that ends in 29, right? And they may not renew that because they need power up in Quebec. So the next source we buy is going to be more expensive recs.
When, if there were a retraction opportunity, when does that happen relative to the actual increase on the bill?
I guess it depends on what you mean by retract. You're retracting for the next year, or you can't really go back. Once you settle on NEPO GIS, you can't go back.
Okay, so then you just have to readjust the next year. You
Yeah.
could go back down
Yeah.
by a percent,
Yeah.
by some
Which
percent.
brings out the point I tried to make last time. I still don't think February is the best time to make this decision. I think for 2026 goal, we can really make a better decision next spring. By that time, we'll have at least 3/4 of 2026 certificate generation. We'll have a very good idea of whether we have enough to retire. So we won't run into that backtracking problem.
So what you're saying, we would make this, like, let's pretend this is 2026 right now. We would make this decision now, spring of 27 for
2026.
to know.
We could do it, February of next year, but because for this year, we got the Q3 2025 in January. So if you want to get 3/4 of 2026, you would have to wait till January of 2027. At least we'll get 3/4, so we can make a more informed decision about 2026. But right now, we have no idea about 2026.
So we should just
all
say
speculation.
Why is this?
But I feel like we're always gonna be a year behind then, right? So
Well, but it's not really hurting anything by making the decision then, because we still have time to actually retire whatever you decide for us to retire. But you're
so I
making
know we
more-
didn't ask you this question, so you may not have the data, but
Mhm,
let's assume this conversation was about 2025.
mhm.
How would you, like, what would the options be for us right
But
now?
I would be able to give you this table with more confidence.
Mhm.
I won't, hedge my answer so much like I'm doing right now for 2026.
And what's the timing or what's your cash outlay for the Rex? When do you pay? You pay monthly? Do you pay
We pay every month
every month?
along with the energy.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's
Give
more
a
like we
monthly
don't
bill.
receive
Yes.
proceeds from the sale.
Or we receive, yes, we don't, yeah.
We don't receive
Mhm.
the proceeds.
Recs aren't
Well, we
minted.
could,
Until like 3 months in
Six-
arrears.
yeah,
Yeah,
6 months later.
3 to 6 months in arrears.
Yeah. So again, like I explained last month, this additional cost is actually just the opportunity cost. It's like the revenue we wouldn't be getting. And there is the delay of that getting that revenue, but still we're getting that dollar amount if we do sell them. And if we instead retire them, then we're not getting that additional revenue.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the timing of our decision
Mhm.
versus the lost opportunity cost. That comes in arrears if we're deciding now on Recs for this year, how our decision affects, the cash flow over this fiscal year.
Sure.
So I,
Because you
all right.
can't
I'm-
sell or retire a rec till after it's minted.
Right.
Right, so
There's a 3-month lag or a 6-month lag.
3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If
this
we
is,
decide now, then
You decide now we
we
cannot do
can't do anything
anything.
for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Or not just, well, yes. Yeah. For the first quarter of 2026, we won't know anything about it until September of this year.
Okay.
So you
that's
make
what
a
I was-
decision now, it's not affecting us anything.
can I ask
Right
one more question and then I'll go to Vivek and then I'm gonna encourage us to maybe close the discussion and decide what we're gonna vote on. You talked about the hydro being a big impact of like what we're kind of the margin of what we're talking about here. Would it be more appropriate for us, given that, to like revisit this conversation late spring when we understand what the hydro market situation is, supply situation is, and see if that changes things or gives us at least more confidence?
Well, so we know spring is the high production
Right.
months, and we know in the summer, usually it's less.
Right.
And the big uncertainty is in the fall, whether we're gonna have a drought or not.
Oh, I thought it was the spring that was the big impact.
Well, last year was the fall where the hydro production was really low.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so I guess my question was like, we are looking at a difference of like 0.2 and $0.3 per month. So it's like a 10-cent difference or like say a 30-cent difference from today's numbers. But the sense I'm getting from Jason and Megan is that there could be some hidden numbers that are much bigger than the 30 cents, right? Is that correct?
There's risk.
There's risk. I wouldn't say it's hidden, it's more of we're estimating what we think is gonna get generated. So if that underperforms and then our load increases more than we think it's going for the year, and that overperforms, those two things together could make this where it's not 30 cents. It could be we're potentially having to buy Rex on the open market.
Yeah, so Jason, so this 30 cents number, which is your high estimate, is really not a high estimate, right?
It was,
It's a high based on a certain assumption, but it's not based on the continued.
Vivek, it's based on this. For the 2024 estimate, the actual was 45% increase in terms of the cost. So I applied 45% increase to the 20 cents. That's just
I know, Megan, I know what you did, but when we're communicating, say, a 30-cent difference from today's policy, but actually saying there is a possibility for a much bigger shock than 30 cents, right? So the comparison should be today's policy versus something larger than 30 cents. That's what I'm hearing you say, right? So,
I think the one piece that we're trying to articulate though related to that is, I know you mentioned again, Jason, there's the potential to have to buy Rex. I think we want to have the opportunity to come back and have that conversation before that decision is made. understand that that's how the policy works today, but I think we'd want to revisit that.
In other words,
Yeah.
meaning that even if we voted for 60, we could still, if the calamities hit,
Throttle it back.
we could still not decide, okay, we don't want to buy the rec to fill the gap. We could do that.
It sounds like that's the desire.
Even if we do it,
but
go to
we have to
60.
figure out the mechanics of how that would actually work.
So that you can go us and say, you know what, bad things happened and we got to buy. So do you still want us to buy to meet the 60? And we'd have a chance in the summer or the fall to decide again.
Yes, I think it's up to you to decide how to make that happen, because the policy doesn't really talk about the percentage itself, and also doesn't talk about how you would make changes to the percentage. So it's not so much about changing the policy, goals itself, but rather the mechanics of how you might adjust.
Well, just so I read it back to you, if we voted on 60 now and things happened where, oh, you have to actually buy something that you didn't think you had to buy before you did that at the relevant meeting, you come to us and
I think the point is we might need to figure out the mechanics of how that would work and how to define the policy to feel certain that we don't put ourselves in a situation where we still have to buy the recs if we were to be in that situation. Like
we would never have to buy them though, right?
Right now we would.
It would have
Based
to.
on the policy right now, they would have to buy them.
2020.
So what I'm trying to articulate is that we could, if we can figure out the policy changes that are needed, then we may feel more confident that there's less risk in making these kinds of
Meaning
decisions.
like policy as in our policy committee policy?
Yes, exactly. Giving
I knew
more-
that. I was
more-
just making sure that Bob understood.
All right, well, given some of the uncertainty that I'm hearing around the table about where these numbers and when the recs will come in, I suggest tabling the decision on the certificate percentage to the fall of 2026, whether that's September or whatever fall of 2026 date we want to choose. And then we will have some information about the recs are going. We'll have some information about pass-through costs. We'll know about spring and we'll have an idea about fall. And then if we still feel comfortable that it's going to be 30 cents or less than 30 cents per average bill, then I certainly would support an increase. But I think there's just enough uncertainty not to make that decision now and come back to that in the fall of 2026. It'll also give us a chance to look at the policy and say, if we set a goal and that results in excessive costs, then the general manager and the IDC director will come back and say, this is causing us not to just retire recs that we own, but buy recs on the market. Is that what we want to do? Are you really sure, guys? And so we can look at that at a policy level, and it'll give us time to do that.
Or, and then I know we want to get off this, but do the 60 by April or May. We'll have our recommendations on policy that'll be hopefully voted on in June or July. And whatever we're going to do, we've done, including amending this to deal with this situation in time for fall, which I think we are all smart enough. Some of us are smart, not me, but others of us are smart enough to do by fall.
I prefer to stay course.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Ray suggests is an excellent idea. It gives us the chance to define what policy changes need to happen, and then we have a high level of confidence that what we're deciding on is not the same level of risk. I think we just doesn't feel like a normal year in terms of people's costs right now, and I think we just have to be extra cautious about that.
And I think it's a good reminder, those that want to have 100% renewable bill can do it through the Renewable Energy Choice Program, and we commit to buying recs on their behalf if they want to do it on an individual basis. So it's not keeping any individual from investing in renewable energy if that's the way they want to go. And certainly we want to look at other ways in which a person could do a solar choice or other ways they might be able to take advantage of renewable energy, but we're not preventing that from happening.
So
this is just
solar option too, right?
Well,
Residents?
well, no, not right now.
Oh, I thought there wasn't.
With it, well, it was one option. We don't have a way of managing that quite yet.
What is
Community
it?
solar.
I thought there was a community
That is
solar
the solar
option.
choice. Yeah,
Okay,
that's the same.
thanks.
the same.
Got it.
So
Fully subscribed.
can I just check, do we need to vote on this or can we table this for? Okay,
Yes.
okay, do we need to vote on tabling? No?
No, I think you.
All right. Okay, we're gonna table that.
Through the fall, you table it to the
That's
fall.
okay
of
with
26.
the-
Fall of
we
Table it,
decided
you need to table it
purchasing
to
was
the date.
Yeah, so
at
let's-
the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Table it to fall 2026.
Let's put it in
And that policy committee is gonna review policy 30 prior to.
correct.
Mm.
Yes. Okay. Again, thank you so much to you and your team for putting it together. That's super helpful information.
Thanks, Megan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Done. IT update.
Can we do the motions first and then the IT? No, each first and then move on to.
We are,
Oh, we already-
no, we decided to table this.
Oh, okay.
That's the one, yeah.
Everybody else set? All right.
Yep.
So, this is just broken down into some of the 2025 IT accomplishments. Some of the items that are up for that we plan to do in 2026 goals and objectives, and then it goes into, and you can review that part of it, the cybersecurity threat landscape assessment and what we're doing in RMLD to protect our environment and network. You can read that, if you'd like. If you have questions, you can just let me know. Under 2025 IT accomplishments, we designed a secure communications infrastructure to support the AMI project. The AMI project is the meter replacement throughout all the 4 towns. So there's a lot of communication that goes on in the back end. That all has to be secured and implemented to support all the new meters. We swapped out our phone system. We have an enterprise cloud-based telephone system. We get full menu. It's so nice. You don't have to actually have somebody record it. It's text to voice kind of stuff. It's nice. And that ended up having a net cost of 0 because we were able to retire 4 different systems that were kind of bolted together to make the one that we had. So that's been up and running, and we've had no problems that I'm aware of with it at all. We're expanding the SCADA communication infrastructure to support automation. That's part of engineering's ability to remotely control switching. Implement an enhanced AI-based email security system solution that goes above and beyond what comes native with Microsoft Defender. Email and phishing is, I'm sure everyone's aware, continues to be a major threat to all organizations. They're getting better with the implementation, the use of AI. You can tell just in the emails. Sometimes you get the emails, phishing emails, and it just seems like it's either machine generated or a person who's doing it's not a native English speaker. It's kind of choppy if you read it, and it's kind of easy to pick up, but they're getting much, much better, and they're getting harder to detect. IT staff has continued to be trained, advanced cybersecurity training for all of the people in IT. What we usually do is let somebody hopefully find an area of interest in cybersecurity. We discuss it, and if we agree, then they attend the training. That's part of the career development plan. It's something that I know Jason supports and RMLD has supported for quite some time. End user cybersecurity awareness training. This is really important. NERC SIP requires it once a year. We do it at least 4 times a year. We do different phishing things, but depending upon the season, we'll see. And then people, if they were to click on a link, then they get sent to additional training. We get all the metrics out of that. We see, who's frequent flyers, and maybe they just need to slow down and pay attention to stuff. We have discussion with them. We designed and implemented a secure video surveillance system for Substation 6. Those transformers are very expensive, and we have eyes on that entire substation now. It comes right back to the operations room. And so that's up and running. It's been up and running for quite some time in 2025. So in 2026, some of the goals, this is one of my favorite ones. That's why it's right up top. Replace our current CIS/ERP solution. At least, come to an agreement on a replacement. Get the RFP out by the end of Q4, right? That's what we agreed on.
Translation on CIS ERP. Those letters mean what?
Computer information system and
Enterprise resource planning.
right, resource planning, right?
Okay.
So that's I think everyone knows the name of what we use.
support AMI implementation via infrastructure build out and collector configuration. That's going to be ongoing all through 2026 and 2027. In 2026, we're going to have our staff attend training on IA related cybersecurity. That's part of just staying up to date with as the threat landscape changes. And we're going to design a data and voice communications system to support Substation 6 that goes beyond the cameras. There's going to be there'll be voice out there. There'll be card access, the whole, just like we have in the rest of our substations. Every year, contribute annual NERC compliance evaluation. There's information that we have to provide. We have a company that helps us with that, but every year, you know, it has to be up to date. It has to be factual, right? You can't just say, "Oh yeah, we do that," and when we don't. So we do pretty well. We would like to continue doing so. And this is an ongoing thing to evaluate emerging technologies that may help advance RMLD's organizational goals, which includes cybersecurity, right? So we want to, you know, we find things that fit our environment for the size it is, that makes sense, and that's always changing. So we're not married to one solution or one vendor. If something comes along, it's better, then we'll make the move. That's it, and the rest, like I said, is more cybersecurity stuff.
Can I just ask a question on the RFP again? So you're going to be selecting the technology, the ERP technology that you want to by the end of the year?
Well, we're going to get the RFP out by the end of the year.
My goal is to, as we'll talk about later, is
Yeah.
to award the RFP.
Oh, it's the one.
Okay, so you'll select, but not implement this year, just select
Okay.
the software. Gotcha.
So that'll take, that'll be.
Is there any like end of life date for the current? I think you're already past.
Yeah,
support and stuff.
there is, and I think they moved it. They're supporting it, but they're not giving any additional patches for the current,
Right.
some of the current stuff. I don't want to go too much into the public section.
Are there any questions on any of the content that John put together?
I just said, like, what are some of the emerging technologies that you're?
Well, one of them would be a good example would be the AI-based email security. Defender is pretty good, but they're getting around Defender. They're getting around MFA. It wasn't that long ago. MFA was the end all be all. You had MFA, you're good to go. You know, now they have phishing scams. They're getting by the two-factor. So that's that comes out. Really, it's more that type of technology is the latest. I would say is AI based. You know, we have all the standard kind of stuff that we can talk about in executive session, or something you can just email and ask me. But it is definitely changing. If you look at the logs and stuff, it's all day, every day. Anything that's, you know, they just keep trying. Denial of service. They just keep, you know, looking, just running, you know, like a password generation. They just hit the firewall, hit the VPN. They're just always trying to get in all day long. So, and it's still the primary way they get in is still phishing. So we're, you know, they don't have to be. We help them sometimes. You know, I mean, not we in general being users, not necessarily RMLD, but we, you know, we've had some, and we have a plan to address it when they come up, and you know, to contain them, to remediate them, and educate the users, and hopefully they won't become frequent flyers.
Vivek had a question. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Vivek.
Yeah, thanks, Pam. So John, thank you. What is the time frame for the complete implementation of AMI? So it's a two-part question. So that's my first question. And the second question is, you know, when do you think would be appropriate to start evaluating software for engaging customers to, you know, help reduce their loads or something like that? Because right now that's we are hoping that the AMI would help us do that. But, you know, there would be certain IT solutions that people have. And so what is the timing for completion of the full rollout? And then when do you think it would be appropriate for you to evaluate technologies, like your last bullet?
So I can really only comment on the Jason can talk to the meters themselves, but for the infrastructure, we're at about 40% there now. You know, so I would think probably 90 or better % by the end of this year. So that'll be the infrastructure to support the meters. We can't roll meters out with no communication in place. So that would be my comment on that.
So sometime into 2027 also, you'll still be rolling it out, right? Because
yeah.
you need to be at 100% before you start doing something for customers.
Yeah, so the meter replacement's different. To replace 32,000 meters, give or take, that's all of this year and probably most of next year, maybe even a little bit more than that, depending on how things break with weather and,
Okay.
the work.
So you could go into next year to evaluate stuff. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Tom.
I'm sorry. So a customer who wants to manage their home usage, there's a third-party application that they use themselves that draws on information outside of RMLD's world. Is that correct? Is that the home?
You're talking about the AMI system?
Are you talking about connected homes?
Connected homes.
Yeah, connected
that-
homes is where they can enroll and then a third party can control like the thermostat.
That's kind of like outside RMLD. That's what the customer, an app the customer uses to manage it draws data from
Yeah,
RMLD.
it's a program that's run by MWEC that RMLD has subscribed to through MWEC. Not exactly see exactly how it works of what MWEC's doing, or if, I believe it is a third party that's using all that to do that, but
that's separate from what John's doing in terms of the RMLD.
yeah, so the network he's talking about is just for meter data to get back
to us. Right. Right. And so I ask it because I think that was partly where Vivek was going, is that as a customer, if I access the connected home software, I can still manage my energy usage, time of use, and control my own energy usage, drawing on RMLD data, but that's separate from AMI and collecting data from the customer that we use for billing and all the stuff that happens internally here.
Yeah, there's existing interval data now that they're using for that. The new meters might have smaller period of interval data. I think right now it's like an hour, and it might be 15 minutes.
Right, I go to 15.
Yeah, I go to 15 minutes, so you have more data points with the new meters. But okay.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
All right, thank
you. Okay. That works. About 10-15 minutes behind schedule. We'll try to make up a little bit of the time. Jason, union negotiation update.
That's actually going to get tabled to another meeting. We're in the union to.
Okay.
So we're hoping they'd get it done by today. They did not.
Okay. All right. Table that. So approval of meeting minutes. Does the tab want to go ahead and do yours first?
Move that the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board approve the following 2026 open session meeting minutes as presented on the recommendation of the general manager and the board secretary, January 20th.
Second.
I guess we need a roll call vote, right? So
yes.
So Tim, you're chairing, right? I'm sorry, I was late.
Charlie Papa's aye.
Charlie Ragusa. Bob Castle, aye.
Vivek Soni, aye.
And anybody want to read? Sure.
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners approve the following 2025-26 open session meeting minutes as presented on the recommendation of the general manager and board secretary for the dates December 29th and January 20th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Training and travel report. Oh, this is the MMA update. So Ray,
Yeah.
Dave,
Did it get in here?
attachment 6.
Yeah, way back. Okay. So, David and I went to the MMA Connect 351 conference. MMA stands for Massachusetts Municipal Association. So it is all of the officials that make up a municipal government. And we are by definition town charter representatives of the town, which have this specific role. And we went as town of Reading representatives. One of the main goals of that meeting was to actually attend a Municipal Light Commissioners Association session, which was scheduled as a part of that conference. It was a chance for commissioners to get together and say hi to each other and see each other. We've done that at NEPA when we've been up there. It's a chance to kind of meet in this setting, the MMA setting. It offered the advantage of seeing vendors that were present on the exhibit floor and talk to some people that provide energy services to various towns and municipal light companies, as well as attend some of the sessions if you wanted to, that other speakers had about goals for the community. But the session that MLCA session specifically, as it is in the attachment, is the goal was to extract from those present what topics were things that the MLCA wanted to give back to those commissioners that are part of it. The goal of MLCA is to be able to bring commissioners up to speed on topics that they may need to address within their own light districts. So it's not setting Reading policy, it's educating us, the commissioners in RMLD or whatever municipal light company, about topics that are coming up, so that when we come back and have discussion in our respective light departments, we speak from an educated point of view. And so a number of things were brought up, and I roughly grouped them into various colored sections that might represent a theme or policy or topic. I won't go into the specific list, that they're there for you to look at. At the bottom of the next page, we've set aside some dates for meetings: March 26th, April 30th, May 28th, and June 25th, as times where we might address some of those topics. And some of the ones that have come to the surface are MREC financing and how can they finance an MLP project, legislative updates, portable solar, and then Commissioner 101, what does it mean to be a municipal light commissioner? So those are, I don't think we paired those dates with those topics, but certainly among the things that have come to the surface of things for commissioners to talk about. So I think overall it was successful in terms of getting some feedback on topics and helped us plan for future meetings. So thank you for supporting our effort in doing that. And as these meeting dates come up, I'll update the board on what the topic is, and you're welcome to attend, as is the cab.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks for attending, and looks like a really good set of topics for meetings coming up. Okay. Moving on to the GM goals discussion.
Okay, so put together some goals based on 6 different kind of topic areas that have been identified around, you know, RMLD's mission of low cost, reliable power, low carbon, low carbon, and then also touched on, you know, customer communication and trust, employee engagement, and governance and board oversight. I'm just going to kind of go these in the blocks, and then we can kind of stop and talk about them under each of these headings, and then I'll just move through that way. So the first section's on customer communication and trust. The first goal would be to investigate improved functionality of the customer portal to increase customer participation in that portal. I'm looking to try to get something moving by Q3 on that. So there are low number of users in the portal. It actually provides good information to your interval reads. You can compare month to month or time frame. It gives you the the temperature, the high and low temperature each day. So there's a lot of good information in it that can help customers make decisions. So I'd really like to try to maybe improve some of that functionality, or at least look at it to see, what can we do to get more people invested into using that portal.
Real quick question on that. Are there resources on the website for how to use the portal that customers can access?
I believe so. There's definitely a link to get access to the portal, and then it's pretty. I think it's pretty self-explanatory if you've gone on any online bill pays, except that to do this, to do the bill functionality, you have to click a link in there and then sign into your Invoice Cloud account. So I think that's one of the things that might be holding some people back from using it, is it's not necessarily streamlined in that regard. So I do want to take a look at that and see what it would take to maybe bring that functionality in. So there's that, and then we're going to look at we're going to take a big comprehensive review to refine the RMLD's calendar year 27 capital and operating budget process and implement any improvements that we find. As you guys have sat through, it's usually takes about 2 meetings. I know a couple years ago there was a change made to look at carryover versus the year when it comes to budgeting and what's approved. I just want to look at that to see if there's a way to improve how that looks and feels, so that it's easier and to put out the information for everybody to review and know what's happening without hopefully I'm asked a lot of questions around what's exactly approved for spend this year versus last year, what was spent last year, what just look at that whole process. I know it starts around July and takes a few months, so just looking at the timing of things and how the process itself, and just seeing if there's anything we do to streamline that and improve that. We're going to also look at all the customer programs and make some enhancements. I know we kind of talked about a little bit last month when it comes to like the rebates, stuff like that. So we're going to take a complete review of that. And I know Megan is slated to come back in the near future to give some more information on some of those programs and some suggestions on around the budgeting of the EEC fund and what it's being used for. And we're going to take a close look at that and try to make enhancements on that. And then the website, as you know, we went to a new website towards the end of 25. And so at first, a lot of time was spent just getting all the information off the old site into the new site and into some buckets. I know Vivek had some comments recently about where things are stored and moving around. So we're going to take a harder, now that all the data is there and the site's up and running, we're going to take a look at that and functionality and see if we can improve ways to communicate information to the customers and streamline a little bit more now that it's over to the new site. Any questions on any of those?
It's a lot, so ambitious.
Yeah.
Because those first 4 is a lot.
Yes.
And that's
to
just
do it.
one of 6 sections.
Yeah. Depending on how deep you go into it, you know what I mean?
Do you, for the customer facing kind of website participation ones, it look, you've got enhance the website to improve technical communications and investigate, improve functionality of customer portal. Do you have, I'm sure you have some baseline like user data, like how many people are using,
I believe they
both. Yeah, like visiting the website. And so I just wondered if quantitatively it's, I don't know, exactly what is behind the goals of improved functionality, but if it has to do with like more people showing up and using the function, just if it's possible, if this one stays in there, is it possible to kind of like say, yeah, I'd like to see this improved by 3% or 5% or I don't know, something like that. Just to make it measurable. And again,
maybe it's a baseline in Q2, and then like setting an interim goal between Q2 and Q4 of improvement, and then that way you've got the baseline, and then in the future years you can.
Yeah, and I'm not even thinking about it so much as a specific goal as much as just like a tracking mechanism. Yeah. Like how do we know that we're making improvements based on customer fulfillment? And we know that because more and more people are using the different tools. I did have one more question, just a quick one. This is kind of off topic, but I'm just curious. On the customer programs part, is the utility allowed to do its own like on-bill financing of some of those programs? Yeah, I know you have the rebates, but if they don't cover the full cost, is RMLD allowed to do on-bill financing for some remaining portion? Do you know?
That I don't know. I do know one of the programs right now is the interest-free loan.
For
It's
heat
for the-
pumps.
That's through the
Right?
Reading Co-op.
Through
The Reading Co-op.
Yeah.
For heat pumps.
So it's not quite the same thing, but you know, customers can apply through Reading to get the loan. The RMLD covers the interest. So
Because the
Oh,
question would be, why was it done with a bank rather than just directly by RMLD?
We don't want to be a financial loan institution. We're not a financial loan institution.
yeah, there could be
Right.
But
insurance.
you can, I mean, you could partner with a bank still to do the on-bill financing too. It's just, it would be a,
You know, you get one or two people defaulting on you, all of a sudden, you know, now you're suing people, chasing them down in court. Just a bad. I don't know if you want
on-bill
to.
financing is
Yeah.
a bad thing.
Well, I'm just projecting out, you know, you get a couple of bad partners there. All of a sudden you're chasing them down for money.
Lots of utilities do it, right? Maybe they're bigger, maybe, I don't know. I was just, yeah, that's enough of the discussion. I was just sort of curious.
An interesting question for the municipal light commissioner to see if any other communities.
Yeah.
do it.
Okay, you know, it is a good question, but
There you go, Ray.
I just think sometimes you have to be cautious
Bring that back.
cautious of what programs you want to get into, right? And, you know, is it our role to like go and, oh, great, you know, you reside your house and you put up Tyvek.
Yeah, no, we're already
Yeah,
way,
your house,
we're
you know, I mean,
off topic from the.
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just wondering about the, sort of the ability of the utility to do that. So anyway.
So let's try to maybe spend between 5 and 8 minutes per section, just so we can get through it in a reasonable time. And Vivek, I know you had some questions and comments too, so, you know, please just jump in when, if I miss your hand, please jump in when we're getting to where you want to talk.
Next sections are on employee engagement and organizational integrity. So, first one was around increasing the management team training and engagement in associations around like skills, leadership, teamwork, networking. I have a note in here to add a measurement goal, as we kind of just talked about earlier. I'm working with the team to try to figure out a way to measure that, to come up with something that we can put in here more detail that we can actually measure. So I will get that done and emailed over to the board well in advance of the next meeting. We're going to perform an independent third-party employee engagement survey sometime in around Q3. I do want to point out that with my term just starting in January, this is back to that baseline that was brought up earlier. This would, my mind, this engagement survey this time this year would be provide that baseline data of how engaged the employees are, and then we can try to work off that for future years.
Didn't we do one of these a year or two ago?
No,
Years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
I thought we didn't.
I think we skipped it last year.
Well, we requested with Colleen, we
No, I know it was
couldn't get through it with Greg.
my very first meeting. We reviewed the engagement survey. I remember.
I don't know if we ever implemented it with. the-
No, it was like the results of the engagement survey. But it's been at least 2 years,
Yeah.
if not
Oh,
3,
okay.
since we ran it. And one of the things that Jason and I discussed is like, I feel like you should do an engagement survey like clockwork every year. Doesn't matter what's going on, like you need a pulse check. You want to hear from your employees. So I think I'm supportive of the goal.
We're also going to take a look at the employee review process and around the communication of that, and then implement any improvements we can find to that process to make sure that we're consistent in applying our reviews across the organization, and that we're effectively communicating the results of those reviews so that employees understand where they are when they
With
get
the
their
performance review process.
performance review
Yeah.
process. And then also while we're doing all this, we're going to try to, I'm going to look to assess and try to determine some immediate needs for the organization around resources, and then make sure that we incorporate some of that into the calendar year 2027 budget process to make sure that if we have to move positions or increase positions or something like that, that for needs that we take care of it in the budget process. That's the, that section.
Any feedback, questions on that?
I have a question on the first section. Can I go back there? You want the capital and operating budget? Last October, when we talked about the budget, we talked about the system to do more of the capital budget preparation. Is that going to be in your review?
So when you say around like the system, you mean around our software to help
right.
generate the reports?
Correct.
That type of software will fall under the ERP solution. So we're going to still be using the same software for now until that solution gets into effect. But we can look at like how some of the reports are generated off of that system and see if there's a way to make improvements there. But as far as what's coming out of the software's going to remain the same. So that part of it system part of it will stay the same for now. But once a new ERP software,
which will be next year.
That's going to probably be a couple-year process. I was involved in one of my last thing, and it was at least 2 years to do a overhaul of all those systems. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. There's a lot of testing and training. So I don't want to make it sound like next year and next year we're going to have a new software in place and it's going to be fine. Because
I thought when I talked to John, he said it was going to be late this year, early next.
We're going to award the RFP to a successful bidder for the software, but then they're going to have to come in and look at what we have, look at our processes, build out the new system, develop the testing scenarios, have us test it, develop the training scenarios, train all the users. And some of these systems, I know in my past list, there's enough of them that it was put in 2 phases. So a couple of the systems got replaced in year 1, and the other couple of systems get replaced in year 2. Because it is a lot to put on an organization.
Yep.
And,
yeah, I'll just jump in here. So Charlie, thanks for asking that. So I think Jason, last year when we saw this, there were some errors in terms of, Excel manipulation of stuff. So it's something that we'll need to be careful so that what you're saying is we'll still get some Excel reports, but I just think, there'll be additional scrutiny needed.
Yeah, scrutiny or process if it's a process related thing. Processes.
So I mean, we'll still be stuck with some Excel reports, but I think we'll have to be careful. Yeah.
2 very quick.
Yep.
Very quick. I think on the second set of goals, number 4, I don't know that you need that because that's just kind of part of what you have to do anyway. When you're the general manager, of course, you have to create a budget. Just to keep it simple, you might want to delete number 4 on that you have to assess and determine the needs for the budget. Seems like.
No, I think he's defining new resources. This is new staffing or reorganizing staff.
Yeah,
this isn't just budget.
I requested.
And then the labor gets put into the budget, but I think the question there is.
Or like, is the organizational structure, do you get the right lead? Like,
okay. So it's more than just.
What do you need in terms of resourcing and understand that so that we can then budget?
There's a budget consequence, but it's really defining the needs and resources.
Next section is governance and board oversight. So one that I have here is ongoing is the review and update of policies and procedures, which was kind of started with the subcommittee. We'll make sure we go through that this year and get that done. Towards the end of the year, I'll try to look at the strategic plan and see if it needs any refinements and then implement those. And then the third would be, I'll explain this a little bit better, but create and implement a town governance engagement plan. So kind of around that, what I'm thinking is a communications plan for both the boards here as well as the select boards and town management of the 4 towns. What types of communications need to go out to whom, when, and what's the mechanism or the means of that communication. So developing that overall communications plan and then implementing it.
And it also could loop into the policy too. So when we iron that out, maybe that's a good one to plug into that. Just a thought. Like who's supposed to talk to other boards and who shouldn't talk to other boards and when does it get messy?
Yeah, well, you got a communications director as well, so that's a good kind of place to start.
Anything on the governance and board oversight? Okay. So reliable power, the first one, have his meter exceed the following reliability metrics. So with SAIDI, which is the system average duration, have a goal of less than 55 minutes, and kind of put some stretch goals in here, because if things go really well, then maybe trying to get under the 15-minute mark. With safety, which is the frequency, having the goal be less than 0.5 or about 50%, and then the stretch would be about 45%, and then the customer average duration interruption. So that's so the system is, you take all the duration of all the outages, divide across all the customers, and the average customer would see that type of duration. The customer one is the average of if you actually have an outage, this is the length of time that roughly you'd be out. And the goal would be less than 100 minutes, with the stretch being less than 90 minutes. It's on the goals, but in 2025, our SAIDI was 50.8. Our safety was 0.48. The KD was 106.54. So they're kind of in line with what we've been seeing and looking at the last 5 years. But just trying to a goal that we can try to make, but shows improvement. And the SAIDI and safety numbers that we have already are up there in the performance level compared to regional and national numbers. That we're already there. So that's why those goals are kind of near what the numbers are. Then the second one would be to apply for the APPA's RP3 award. This is the Reliable Public Power Provider Award. It's due, you get a 3-year designation. We currently have a diamond, which is the top level designation that expires this year. So we're due to reapply. And that judges where we are in 4 areas of reliability, safety, workforce development, and system improvement. And it's when you apply, there's a bunch of questions in each of those 4 sections that are around best business practices in those 4 areas. And so if you're doing well and get a high score, that means you're doing all the best business practices across the 4 areas, which means you're a healthy, reliable company. So I just wanted to give a little bit more definition to that goal and why it's important.
Quick question about that.
Yeah.
Do all MLPs apply for these APPA awards? Do all 40? Do you guys know?
Not all, but quite a few of them do. Yes,
because we're paid. We pay to be members of APPA.
Yes, I would say, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I'd probably say 99 to 100% of MLPs in Massachusetts belong to APPA. I'm pretty sure it's 100%, but not all of them apply for different reasons. Some apply to some, not others.
Associated with it, right?
Yes. So you have to have some procedures in place for the RP3. You have to provide documentation. It is a heavy lift.
A lot of work.
It's a lot of work to apply and maintain that designation. But
so all I'm saying is, personally, it does not matter to me if you put in for that and we get something back from APPA, knowing that you're hitting these other goals. Personally, I don't see the need to go through the exercise. It doesn't, but others may feel otherwise.
Yeah. I would say it validates that the practices that you follow as a utility are meeting industry best practice, and you're either meeting or exceeding them, and you're heading in the right direction.
So it's benchmarking yourself.
It's benchmark.
Yeah.
So I have a question with the outage goals and whatnot. Something that's near and dear to my heart is that Wilmington doesn't set their own. It's a Verizon pole set area, and that can affect your outage time dramatically. Because they'll go to dinner before they go and set a pole when they get a call, and
2 times
allegedly. And, so is Reading Municipal still trying to acquire the rights to set their own poles in Wilmington? I know in the past I had been told that was
it's something we'd have to look at. A few years ago, a couple MLPs were able to hit it just right and were able to buy ownership back on the poles. But then Verizon decided that was not what they wanted to do after those couple of MLPs were successful. So for a while there, they refused. They did not look to sell their rights. It's starting to be mentioned again that it's something that they might be looking at again. But it would really depend on the negotiation and what they're looking for, because you don't want to spend too much on something that may not be of that much value, because if the poles are really old and depending on what their asking price is, you spend way more than the asset's worth, right? So it's a business decision. It's something we can explore.
I just didn't know if it was something that was currently in the works, not because, somebody told me that they were in negotiations, but that was,
I have
a
not
little
heard
while
that, but I
ago,
can
so.
ask my staff because that was something.
Full disclosure, I was here when I worked for Verizon regarding the sale of the poles from Verizon to Reading Light, and the cost was prohibitive. That's why it didn't move forward. That was
And that's-
10+ years ago. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's understandable.
Yeah,
I just
it
didn't know
was-
where it stood.
yeah. So some major utilities have negotiated. National Grid has. Eversource has not. So it just moves forward where applicable, but it's a good idea to pursue the right price point because it makes things faster for you.
Is there a risk for you, for the MLP, in terms of the wires? And I don't know if they're not taking care of the poles, for example, do you ever run into a adverse situation where you're prevented from doing something, or there's some loss or something like that based on negligence from not keeping those assets
I mean, I would
in
just gotta be careful. If it's an aged asset that happens to fail, it could cause outages and it, creates more work and stuff like that. But I don't think there's any other course other than, if it failed, it fell over, it's a liability and it could create outages and be a safety concern when it happens. But
yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why I think, depending on the price, why MLPs may or may not choose to buy those rights, because now you're assuming the ownership of those poles and the condition that they're in.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Also in reliable power, we're gonna complete the Station 6 substation construction within the substation fence. So that means the substation portion without connections to the transmission line or the distribution system. So that would be, the transformers are currently on site. The switchgear is coming. They'd be making up all the connections between the transformers and the switchgear. And then what I have here is begin construction on the transmission and distribution connections. So getting the conduit, the duct bank, and the cable out on the distribution side. And at the last meeting with National Grid, it looks like fall timeline where they might start beginning construction on the transmission tap. But that's a little bit of our control. So right now it looks like that's going to get started by the end of the year. But we're going to focus on what we can control, which is everything internal to the fence and getting the distribution out to the street. And then the last goal in this area is we're going to complete the AMI meter communication infrastructure. So that's getting the communication network up by the end of the year, and then replacing 40% of the meters by the end of the year. With the thought that that goes really well, and having a full year to do meter replacements next year, that hopefully the remaining 60% could be done next year. That's the reliable power portion of that.
Okay. So Pam, I think I'll jump in here.
Sure.
If that's okay with you. So it's like I said, around 20 minutes into the thing. So if you don't mind, what I've done is I've actually written down some comments. I have some framing comments and then some comments on the goals. So if you don't mind, I'll go through this, and then Erica, I'll share this with you later on. Okay. So in terms of the framing comments, it's nice to see the goal setting and review process involving the CAB for input. It's also good to see the framework for goals is based on the contract work that the CAB was involved with for the GM selection. So it's nice to see that, there's good consistency in what we're doing as an organization. We are also looking forward to the CAB participation on the GM review and goal setting committee that will meet towards the end of the year for reviewing the performance of RMLD and the GM. And Vice Chair Woods and Member Ragusa will represent the CAB on that committee. So I just want to recognize that, the CAB is going to be more involved. I mean, historically we have not, and so this is good. Coming to the goals, I think these are the goals for the organization that I embodied in the GM's goal. So I start off with the mission, and I'm saying, reliability, low cost, and increasing non-carbon power. That's the mission. And I wanted to see, what does one need to do as an organization to make sure we have reliability. And so all the things that, Jason has talked, and this is not a surprise to Jason because I actually called him about this point. When we talk about reliability, one needs to think about people also. We need to make sure people are well trained and actively engaged. So there needs to be some way of incorporating that. There needs to be something around processes that, we have safe and reliable power production and supply, and also infrastructure, capability, and secure. So Jason, when we talked, I think we talked briefly about, the cybersecurity aspect that comes into reliable power, and that may come in as part of your application for the APA award. But the idea is that it's the whole organization that has to be involved in the whole goal setting, right? So it's like an inverted tree, and the details go. So different departments should be able to find stuff for them. Then when we come to cost drivers, one looks at cost in terms of capacity, transmission, energy, and management of expenses. And when we look at non-carbon, it's like a question of power supply mix, contracts, and then, in-territory solar and storage. So I just saying so I'm looking at, what does the organization need to do and make sure that the goals address all the critical issues. So I would just encourage everyone to think about the goals that are listed here. I think the categories are correct. And just to make sure that, I think what I heard from Jason was that he's got a lot of detail, some of which may not show up here, but it's important that that detail gets to the people in the organizations that in the various departments, so that that they're very clear about what they need to do and make sure they're working on the most optimal things for the organization. So I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivek. That was super helpful. There were two things that you said that I think we probably should just edit on this. One is you're right, it's non-carbon, not increasingly low carbon. So maybe let's just make sure we use the same terminology as the mission. And then I think we should absolutely put a safety goal here. Maybe it's under reliable, maybe it's under employee engagement or customer trust, but a safe, an employee and lineman, et cetera, safety goal would be great.
Yeah, that could go in a couple of places, like either the employee engagement or reliable power.
Yeah, wherever it makes sense. But
I'll change it to no carbon. I took it right out of the appendix of the contract.
did we get that wrong?
If you're gonna do, if we're gonna do a safety goal, I'm assuming it's gonna be like, lost time accidents, those type of OSHA recordable incidents. And then, motor vehicle incidents, the full gamut of, a cut, a broken bone, a car accident, there's multiple. And so just pretty standard, those are pretty standard metrics.
I think there's a couple more sections. You want to just try to spin through those
real
pretty
quick.
quickly?
So for low cost, the first two are kind of go hand in hand. So the first one says, one that we're gonna do is complete cost of service study. That's where we'll look at our rates in the financial that does, and then how it funds our capital plan and our budgets and funds our expenses. And then we'll take that information that comes out of that study and then look at our rates. So we'll review the rate classes, how that distribution rate gets designed. We'll look at the potential for an opt-out time of use. And so as part of that, the output of that study will feed that goal of which we're going to implement into the road structure for 2027. So those two kind of go hand in hand. They're kind of broken out, but they're really kind of together. And then as we've talked about earlier, develop and award the RFP for the ERP project at the end of the year. So it's awesome. And then a lot increasingly non-carbon.
But you're saying your employment contract said low carb.
So we'll
we don't even need the 55% anymore. Because
First up would be complete the agreement for Station 3 battery, which is in North Reading. So right now, there's a plan to put 2 5-megawatt batteries up at Station 3. That agreement's been in the works for a little while. We're meeting with them later this week to see where that stands, but that's why the goal is to get the agreement in place, because there are some issues around supply chain and stuff like that. So I don't have a full understanding of that yet. If something comes out of the meeting later this week and put more definition here for next meeting, I will. Otherwise, if depending on how that goes, we maybe look if we have to look for something else, and we will, and then it will still be just the agreement by the end of the year. So it's worded that way.
Jason, I don't know why the reason is, but it looks like battery costs might be coming down again. Just
Okay.
FYI when you're talking to those.
Okay. Good to know.
On this section, I see the increased engagement and renewable choice and peak demand response. Any goals around kind of the additional programs, like whether it's, heat pump rebates, solar rebates? I know you talked about like wanting to make sure we're optimizing that. It's kind of part of the budget or part of the cost.
Yeah, that goal, a couple of those fill into the customer communication.
Okay.
To review their programs and make enhancements. I get this could have fallen there or here.
Yeah.
Where it helps with the increasingly non-carbon. So it's hard to control. You can't really control people getting into these programs, so that's why we termed engagement. So we're going to put an effort in to engage in the customers, and I'm still working what that measure would look like to determine that. But getting customers more engaged in those programs, even if they don't participate, or whether it's having more information sessions, getting out, or whatever we need to do to try to increase the engagement in those 2 programs. That's what we're going to try to put the metric around for that one. And then the last one was around, so APPA also does a smart energy provider, where that does look at all your customer programs, your rebates, et cetera, and then you can get certified in that program that you are working towards lower non-carbon goals and reducing usage. So we just want to, and we have, to my knowledge, we have not applied for that yet, historically. So that'd be a new designation.
This concept is sort of a carryover, and I don't know how it'll apply to you. But in territory generation, and I guess my thought about implementing that is looking at the land area that we have that's not roof area in the Killam School or the Recal that's close geographically. Is there any ways to leverage that into a solar park or feed into the solar choice program? I'm not quite sure I know what I'm advocating, short of my vision of have RMLD own the parking lots and the power generated from raised panels over parking lots. I realize that's a very expensive proposition to do it because of the cost of the supports, but I don't know. I just think we don't want to lose the concept of finding places where we can gain increased solar generation. That means finding places where there's area that we can put solar panels up, and that's not a lot of available free space. So that means being creative on where we can find it.
I'm not losing sight of that type of thing with the goals. I'm just, with all that's on here.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get back to some of the core basic stuff like building the substation and the AMI project, which I know we're a larger municipal, so we have more capacity to do large projects than some of the other municipals, but each one of those projects in their own would probably be the one and only main project for most municipal plants. And we're doing both of those and trying to do an ERP and look at every, so
yeah, no.
I don't want to, it's not that I don't want to lose sight of that.
Yeah.
We still are looking at land options and stuff. They haven't fallen necessarily to the side. They just maybe taking a step back in priority.
That's fine.
And,
I just, that's good. That's a good answer for now. Yeah.
I mean, a simple thing is to remove the cap on how much people can get a rebate for, right? I mean, I think they're capped at 1,000 kilowatt, something like that, 1,000.
Yeah, and there's, we're talking about customer
Right.
programs.
600 after a certain date and 1,200 before a date. I don't remember exactly the date.
So, I mean, a simple fix could be to just not have such a constraint on how big of a rooftop a warehouse can put solar, like lift that, and then we could get more solar capacity on roofs by lifting that. That's all.
Yeah, it's economics and RMLD, right? It's gotta be worth your in initial investment on your 30-year return, and that's what returns it because we're cheaper. So
I know
that's the challenge, and we shouldn't supplement being cheaper. I know it's good for the overall environment, but now we're just paying for people to get something done.
Well,
they can afford.
it also manages the demand increase and
there's a cost,
especially
cost
if it's
benefit.
battery. If it's paired with battery, then it helps the peak as well.
Right.
But you
and batteries are cheaper, so
you're paying well-to-do people to do the work, right? I hate to say it that way, but that's what can come out of it. You're just, people, I can afford it. I didn't want to do it, but now you're making it an incentive for someone who probably could have afforded it in the first
I'm talking about, not talking about residences. I'm talking about like parking lots and large buildings with flat roofs, which there are a lot of those in our territory. And they're constrained how big they can make the projects now, because our thing caps the number of panels at a certain, or the production at a certain level beyond which we will not give them the $600 a kilowatt. Like I think it's capped at 1,000 kilowatts.
I'd have to look,
or 100. I forget.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
It is.
A couple of the rebates that I processed, I think, were residential only, so I don't know if there's a difference for the commercial.
It is. It is capped. So, and it could be higher, right? Anyway.
But so we have that covered, is what you're ultimately in terms of a goal to just continue to look at those programs.
Yeah, like I thought last month some of the solar discussion came up, so Megan was looking at some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so hopefully in another month or two, we'll have some suggestions for you guys to review.
And that would be something that was in her team's goals as well.
Yeah, so back to what Vivek mentioned, so these goals, so for my leadership team, they're currently working off of kind of like extended 2025 goals. I haven't set their goals yet. Once these get approved, I will then sit down with my leadership team and their goals align with my goals, and then help them work it down into their employees so that we're all working in the same direction on the same stuff. So I haven't set too much with my leadership team until I knew how this was going.
So any other additions or changes, suggestions to the goals?
I think the goals are very ambitious. And sometimes I'm looking at all this, I'm like, how's he going to get his work done during the day when he's got this many goals? And I don't know if it was overexpanded the number of goals, or we should reduce it to a more workable thing. But I just think that's a
Long list.
It's a long list. And then I don't want to sit here in November and say, hey, wait a minute, you didn't do, it's not fair to you. So I'm not saying cut it down, but it's very, very ambitious. And it's your first year in, it's very difficult to transition into a new job. And then all of a sudden, the group of people sit there and say, they pick you in November and December and say, well, you didn't do this and we made 40%. And so that's all.
I can't disagree with that sentiment. It's more like doing some of these really well rather than you're spread pretty thin here, and it's understood that this is a lot. And the customer stuff to me is the most important, because that's going to get more and more important to how do we get people to do stuff that that's the peak. And there's multiple ways that you're approaching that here. And to me, anyway, those are the things that we could be a lot stronger on. And so if you keep things running well, but also revamp those in ways that really starts to attack it. Like, I don't think we can even measure what our programs, when you add them all up, what they do to the peak, that there's really very little that that we're doing that we know is reducing the peak. We know we're communicating. We know we add some rebates. So I don't think we know how much it's really reducing the peak, right? Am I wrong? I don't really know.
Potentially, yeah, I guess the customers that kind of do it that don't necessarily partake in some of the offers, then we may or may not know because we're not be looking at them to see what they're doing. But
I mean, I agree with the sentiment that there's a lot here, but I don't think this is like just all on Jason. I mean, this is the organization, and he's going to have his customer service people handle some of these things. It's really more the organization, and that, yes, it's a lot. It's a big job. It's a big utility, and I mean, I think it's expectations on our end is at the end of the year, we just want to see progress. I'm not sure we're looking for like a 0 to 10 on every number. So some of this is just baseline for Jason getting to know what some of these items are, and then we can plan future progress. So yeah, it's
maybe there's a way to rank order some.
No. I totally agree with Ray. I think, Tim, this is a complex organization and everyone needs to do their job, right? And so I think by having specificity, each person, each department knows what's important for them. So it's more of a communication down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could all name the leaders on Jason's team who would be
for
the
each
point person for each of these categories or objectives, right? So I think it's probably another way to look at it is if you've got one of your leadership team members who's got 5 of these things, that's probably too many, right? Maybe we should dial that back. But if everybody's got 2 or maybe 3 for the year that are big focus like that, I think there's some big strategic things here. There's also some literally keep the lights on things like reliability metrics and safety metrics, and like those should be on the list every year, right? But if there are some stretch things in here where you say this is keeping me up at night, I'm not sure I can hit this, maybe we need to be a little bit more make it a little more attainable without losing sight of it. I think our goal today was have an initial discussion, right? Get the feedback, maybe make some changes, and then next time we'll vote on the goals, right? So
could I summarize some of the feedback before we end the conversation?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so what I'm hearing, just if I go category. So the first one, you're gonna make number 1 measurable. You're gonna make number 4 measurable. And Ray is gonna bring the OBF to the MLP group. So the financing situation to the MLP group. If you go under the employee section 2, you're gonna make number 1 measurable. And then under increasingly, you're going to change that to non-carbon, and you're going to make number 2 measurable. That was all the needs for measurability. And then you're going to add a safety goal in whichever category we think it makes sense to be in, probably around something measurable like OSHA related items. And then we're going to take a look at these again before next time and just see if there's anything we think we could maybe remove or tweak a little bit.
So Erica, I would add cybersecurity into reliable power. Just make it more visible because it's a security threat. So it's a reliability issue.
Can you maybe, Vivek, if you want to offline provide a suggestion on what that goal would be? Because I think we want to make sure that it's measurable.
Yeah. So I know you wanted to be specific. So I would look at I would look at what John talked to us about and see how we could, I would just take a look at it, what he's proposing, and see how we can make that measurable.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even just ask him for what the appropriate goal is.
Yeah, because I just want to provide visibility to John, saying that this is important for RMLD. What you're doing is important. So yeah.
So if there's any other feedback, maybe like within a week, Jason, so that gives you plenty of time to refine and bring back the final. Okay.
One thing just about the structure, since people talked about, sort of it seems like a lot, and this came from the contract committee, I think. It would be great to get your feedback on whether or not these sort of broad categories, or how you're metabolizing these categories as you see them sort of disseminate to the different departments within the utility. You know, does it reflect the broad organizational structure? Are there people that you can sort of envision that are going to take these things on? And so I think a little bit of a feedback loop on that would be appropriate.
Yeah, I think as I sat down, went through it and started with that framework in mind, and there was a little bit, some definition provided as well, not just the category headings. As I started to think of some of the, or work on my team and think of some of these goals, trying to, some of them, as we saw, cross a couple of these, but that's okay. But I do think it does highlight a lot of the different areas that we're trying to do as an organization, and hits all the different departments. It definitely. So I think from that perspective, that was fine. I think, like I said, sometimes it's which bucket do you put it in, but I don't think if it kind of touches both, I don't think it matters as long as the goal is the right goal, right?
That's great.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Jason.
GM update. All right, I'll keep this pretty brief. Just a few things real quick. Between the last meeting and this meeting, we did have that one large snowstorm. We had a few snowstorms, we had one large one. We staffed it. We weren't really anticipating too much, but we knew it'd be difficult for people to get in if something were to happen. So there was really there was one outage, and it was a transformer outage, and the team wasn't even sure the storm caused it. So we made the storm pretty well. So that's on that. I had it my goals around the Wilmington Association 6. The switchgear is scheduled for delivery to the site in early March. So that's good. Last week I did go down to E&E and I met with the E&E group, and they kind of gave me that overview and review of what they do for us, and then all the other options that they do. That as we talked about that, I think like Mike went to in the past last year, and that was very helpful. It was a good time well spent down there. Just wanted to make the board aware that the discussions with the auditor have started happening about starting the audit process up, and you should receive an email from the auditing firm in the near future, just stating that they're starting, and there's a level they're going to send you, but just part of the normal standard communication that they're going to do.
They changed their name again?
It's still CBIZ now. Same as last year.
We'll wait till June.
I just want to be aware, you to be aware that email's coming. And then the team also had a meeting actually earlier today with a consultant that can perform a cost of service study, look at our financials, and look at rate design. The team met with them. We had a nice hour-long conversation around what they can provide for service, how they go about it. The team had a good chance to ask a bunch of questions, and we're going to continue that process, but to look at vendors and select when to do the study, but just to make you aware that we've already started on that to get that out of the way. That's pretty much my GM update.
Okay, scheduling. We've confirmed the 4th grade art contest is the 25th. We need to. Okay. Okay. Do we, does anybody have a desire to be present at, has everybody been to the art ceremony before? No?
Like typically new cab members are assigned to that.
I'll be happy to go.
One of my favorite parts of the job. It's the first year without Phil being there, so we sort of have to, we gotta step up.
I would love to go, but I'm not available on a Wednesday night until April.
What's the date?
It's the 25th at 6 p.m.
I might have to go to California. I just don't know. So if I'm here, I'll go. I just don't know what my schedule is.
All right. So have everybody look at your calendar maybe, and just, can you send the invite, and then folks who can attend can accept?
Again.
Did it already get sent?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Any other questions on scheduling? Concern?
The only thing we wanted to throw out is the April meeting date change. So
Yeah, was it originally scheduled for the 21st? Was it moved from the 21st to the 28th?
yes, so that's school vacation week. Like this week is actually school vacation week.
Oh.
So I was hoping to be able to take that week off. So if we can move it, that'd be great. If not, I'll be here, but
Yeah, I'm not able to attend on that day.
The 28th,
I'm not able to attend on the 28th.
there's a chance I may not be able to attend, but that would be, when is the election?
10th.
In April?
Yeah, it's usually the 10th.
Okay. So would we be reorganizing at this meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have a constraint with the 28th?
Currently.
Nope. You may end up having to do it without me.
Okay.
So
Warrant schedule?
Well, we should do it when you're here, Pam, because I mean, you're the chair and you know, it's an important meeting with the goals and everything.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I guess the other question is, do you guys want to reorg? You've gone back and forth, it's been April. Do you want to reorg in March or April?
We do it after the election. The only reason it's done in March is that
So
the election is in March.
not like gonna be a big surprise.
That's true. You never know.
Unless there's some like stealth write-in.
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
I hadn't thought of
Big
that. You're
campaign,
right.
big campaign. Vote me
Write-in
out.
campaign.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's just keep it the 28th so that Jason can take a vacation.
Yeah. Hey.
He's got a lot of gold. Let's give him a break, everyone.
It needs at least one day off.
Yeah. If we did the Monday, the 27th, would that work for people, or does that just make things worse?
No, that whole week doesn't work for me.
It's the same week.
I know. I
But then-
I have to travel on I might have to travel on the 28th.
Yeah.
I could do the 27th. I mean, I might be, if I'm in California, I'll do it remote, but I could do it.
You know, I might be able to do it remote, actually. Well, let's just keep it 28th.
Okay.
Forgot about that. Okay,
28th?
28th, we're just gonna stick with the 28th, yes.
Looking ahead on the warrant schedule, have AP sign off for the month of October. I'll be away for half that month, and I'm not sure I can log in from Indonesia.
You
Maybe someone's preference for you.
you wanna swap with me? I'll do October, you do September?
Sure.
They do have internet there.
Not underwater.
Is that where you're living?
Well,
I'm just
be
kidding.
scuba diving, but yeah,
That sounds awesome.
it actually is. We'll be at a resort. That's probably some internet. But time zone was going to be really weird. I don't want to be doing a RMLD meeting at 2 a.m.
With the drink.
Okay. Anything else on scheduling or warrants? Great, okay. 3 minutes over. Wanna Go ahead and adjourn.
Move that the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board adjourn regular session. Roll call vote is required. Tim Woods.
Second. Charlie Pappas.
Charlie,
Charlie did.
I second.
Charlie did. Bob Castle, yeah.
Vivek Soni, aye.
And we have to move to go into executive. Who would like to do that?
I'll do it. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 47D, exempt from public records and open meeting requirements in certain instances under purpose number 3 to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining for the ASME LMS union and return to open session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, 5-0.
Okay.
Going to executive. Thank you. Thanks, Kat.
Recording
Recording
Thanks, everyone.
stopped.
Back.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.